Let me ask you this. Have you ever wondered whether your block will kena SERS one day? For many years, SERS felt like striking Toto. One announcement and suddenly, full compensation, a brand new flat nearby, and a fresh 99-year lease. But today, things have shifted. There are no further plans for SERS. VERS is coming and it will shape almost every aging town. And no, it's not another windfall scheme. So in this video, we're going to unpack everything clearly. Why SERS ended, key differences between SERS and VERS, why VERS is not a lottery, how compensation might be calculated, what happens when your neighbors vote no, which estates are most likely to see VERS first, how this could affect your flat value today, what happens if you're older and can't afford a replacement, and what Singaporeans, young or old, should start thinking about. Let's go through this slowly and make sense of it together. For decades, SERS worked great, but only for a very small group. SERS, or the Selective En Bloc Redevelopment Scheme, was designed to redevelop older HDB flats only in areas with high redevelopment potential. Here's the key point. Only about 5% of all HDB flats were ever suitable for SERS. Most of the likely candidates, Tiong Bahru, Marine Parade, Queenstown, have already been done. In total, 82 SERS sites were announced. And the reason SERS is ending is simple. It became extremely costly. The government had to buy back flats at full market value, provide a replacement flat nearby, give a 30,000 grant, $10,000 removal allowance, and pay legal and stamp fees. For example, Ang Mo Kio SERS in 2022, compensation reached $450,000 for flats over 40 years old. Now, imagine doing this island-wide. The other issue is timing. If we let all leases run naturally to zero, towns built in the 1970s and 80s will all expire around the same time, requiring massive, sudden rehousing. So SERS didn't end because it was bad. It became financially unsustainable, it created speculative behavior, and 95% of Singaporeans were waiting for something that was never meant for them. VERS was introduced to fix this long-term problem. VERS is Singapore's long-term plan to renew aging estates, but in a very different way from SERS. Here's what you should know. VERS is voluntary, residents vote. If majority says yes, government buys back early. If majority says no, you stay till 99 years. For flats that are not selected or vote no, the government is planning HIP2, a much more extensive home improvement program around the 60-year mark. So why 70 years? Because many towns built in the 1970s to 80s will reach their expiry at almost the same time. If everyone waits until 99 years, entire towns have to move at once. So VERS spreads redevelopment across 20 to 30 years, making it more manageable. Compensation will be modest. Unlike SERS, VERS flats will be very old. A 70-year-old flat has much lower remaining lease value, and Bala's curve shows that the last 20 to 30 years of lease drop in value the fastest. So VERS compensation will not be anywhere near SERS value. Which estates are likely candidates? Based on age, many of the earliest towns will hit 70 years by late 2030s. Marine Parade, Ang Mo Kio, Bedok, Queenstown, Bukit Merah, Toa Payoh, Tampines, and Yishun, etc. These are some of the towns most likely to see VERS first. So, will every flat at 70 years get VERS? This is one of the biggest misconceptions right now. Minister Chim made it clear. VERS will only be offered to selected precincts, not every block, not every town, and not automatically at 70 years. Urban planners will consider things like redevelopment potential, land optimization, transport plans, whether the town layout can be replanned, population mix, infrastructure lifespan. This means some flats may get VERS, some get HIP2 or simply run to 99 years. This changes how buyers will look at older flats moving forward. On paper, VERS sounds simple. Vote and decide. But in real life, it can get very complicated. Imagine you are 70 years old. Your flat is fully paid. You love the location, your neighbors, your community, but you really don't want to move. But the majority votes yes. Even though the scheme is voluntary, if enough people vote for it, everyone has to move, whether they want it or not. This could lead to tension, just like condo en bloc disputes, neighbors who no longer talk, families who disagree, residents feeling pressured. And beyond that, the biggest question is this: will the compensation be enough for seniors who no longer have income? Because if you're older, retired, and your compensation cannot fully cover your next flat, then what happens? There's no official formula yet, but analysts widely expect it to resemble the lease buyback scheme. This means a 70-year-old flat equals low remaining value. Compensation will not buy you a similar size flat nearby. Seniors may struggle to take new home loans due to MSR or TDSR. So a lot of questions remain. Can elderly buy two-room flexi using compensation? Will families get priority BTO options? Will multi-generation household get two smaller units? Will low-income seniors be offered rental units? Will certain precincts receive better packages? This will shape how attractive VERS truly is. VERS hasn't even started, but the market has already reacted. Here's what we're seeing. Demand for older flats is rising. Transactions for flats above 40 years old jumped from 1,500 units in 2016 to 6,000 units in 2024. People now see VERS as a possible exit, not SERS. SERS premiums are gone. Buyers are no longer paying extra based on SERS hope. Buyers are more realistic about lease decay. Younger families are asking practical questions. Will this flat last me to age 95? Can I use full CPF? Will the bank restrict my loan? The SERS fantasy era is over. We've entered a more practical, data-driven era in Singapore's property market. So, who benefits most and who loses? Likely beneficiaries: estates built between 1970 to 1985, towns with underutilized land, mature areas suitable for replanning, buyers who are okay with modest compensation later. Those who are likely to lose could be elderly who cannot afford top-ups, precincts not selected for VERS, buyers who overpaid previously expecting a SERS type of windfall. VERS is not meant to make people rich. It's meant to keep towns livable, functional, and renewable for the next few decades. But psychologically, it will start to change how people view older flats, especially the new 70-year checkpoint. So, should you buy an old flat now? This really depends on your purpose. If you're buying for space, location, school proximity, budget, or staying near your parents, older flats can still make a lot of sense. But if your goal is capital appreciation, then you might need to be careful. Prices of older flats will now align more closely with lease decay. And if you're hoping VERS will save your investment, the government has made it very clear. VERS is not a windfall. It must not become a lottery. So buy based on fundamentals, not speculation. So SERS is ending and VERS is coming. And we are entering a very different chapter of Singapore's housing story. We are moving from windfall expectations to realistic planning, speculation to long-term livability, and government-led to community decision-making. Here's the question I want to leave with you. If your block reaches 70 years and VERS is offered, would you vote yes or no? And why? And more importantly, why is it important for you to understand this today? Because the decision you make now could affect your housing security, your retirement plan, and your family stability in the future. My name is Jason from Your Key Journey. If you found this useful, do like and subscribe. And feel free to connect if you would like to have a chat on what could be the best option for you today. See you in the next video.